Welcome back. This is Dad's Book Reviews. I'm Kevin.
I'm Don.
This is my dad.
We've got some really nice books for you this month.
Awesome. So, how many books we have?
6 books. One of them is an 8, but it's one that one of our readers recommended, so I thought I'd include it anyway.
Okay. All right. What's book number 1?
Our first book is S.T.Y.X. Human Hive, and what S.T.Y.X. means they never explain. S.T.Y.X. is the world that they're on, and it's a human hive.
Now, going back, who's the author?
The author is Arthur Stone. It's a fantasy series. There's 4 books, and it's not finished yet. He did this series back in 21, and now he's got 2 more books in it, and so I decided to report on it.
Arthur Stone sounds familiar.
Yes, we've done some of his books already.
Okay.
Easy Meat was one of them we've reviewed.
Did he do the Alpha Zero series?
Yes, he also did the Alpha Zero series.
I don't think we've reviewed that one.
We haven't yet, but I may because I like that series. This is short. There's only 270 pages in it, but it is intense. Non-stop action and terror.
And it's a fantasy? Did you say that?
It's a fantasy series, yes. What happens is, let's talk about the hive first. The place where they are is called the hive. Entry's easy. You just have to be in a place that's pulled into it. You never get out. 9 out of 10 new immune people that are brought into the hive are dead within a week.
New immune.
We'll talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
Surviving for a year makes you a veteran. The hive is another world, maybe another alternate reality. And a large section of land, including rivers, lakes, mountains, cities, houses, cars, people, animals, are all brought along with this section of land and deposited in a cell in the human hive. They call it a hive because these sections are kind of put in together like a beehive. The air that they breathe once they get into the hive is going to turn you into something like a zombie. And it'll do it in a matter of a day or 2. And there is no cure for it. They don't call them zombies. These infected survive because they've got a deep hunger inside them that wants human meat. And so they eat each other. But they prefer a live bait. And as they eat, they get stronger and bigger and smarter and faster, more dangerous. Along with that, there are 1 or 2 out of 300 people that are transported in that are immune, and they stay human. They also need something. They need to drink a concoction made from spores that are produced in a little spore sac on the back of the head of one of these monsters that has survived long enough and gotten far enough up the chain to start producing spores. They drink that, and they have to drink it regularly or they'll die. And so they have to go after these monsters, and the monsters are after them. Everyone's fighting for their life at all times. There are some of the clusters that never change. Those are called stable clusters. And on the stable clusters, people try and get together and build up a community and surround themselves with walls and defenses and then send people out into the cells that have just turned and bring in food. You know, there's all kinds of food there, and there's all kinds of weapons and armories where they can get heavy-duty weapons. And the only trouble is when you go into the cities that have just changed, all of the big monsters are coming in too because they want to eat all these people. Immunes don't always get along with each other. In fact, there are factions that fight each other. Every once in a while, you'll come across someone that will help a new immune, help them understand where they are and what happens and how you live in this new environment. Our protagonist is named Leland, and he's driving home one night when he drives into this heavy, heavy fog that he can't go any farther. So he pulls his Jeep off to the side of the road, turns on the flashers, and after sitting there for a minute, he gets out and walks back, trying to get to a bridge that he knows is just a little ways back, when all of a sudden a SUV comes barreling down the road at high speed and slams into his car, knocks it clear off the road and injures the people inside. Well, he goes for help. He goes back to this bridge, and as he's crossing the bridge, a small bus comes along, and he has to jump over the side, and he lands in the bottom of the creek bed and bangs his head on the pylon and is knocked out, and he's out all night. He wakes up in the morning wet and cold and miserable, and all of a sudden he starts running into all of these zombie-like people. The first two are the people that were in the car that crashed, and now they're after him. They're not very fast, they're really slow, so he can stay ahead of them. And so he runs from them, and he gets to this little village, and there's zombies all over the place. He finds a car that has keys in it, he gets in it, and he takes off, trying to get back to Bismarck, North Dakota, where he's from. And he gets part way there when an airplane comes along and fires missiles at him. The first one hits, and he decides to jump out while the car is still moving, rolls to the side of the road. The plane comes back and fires another missile into his car and then flies away. He gets into the city and just pinballs from one problem to another, and finally has one of the big ones chasing him that's fast and mean and strong and after him, wants to eat him. And just before he reaches him, someone else puts a crossbow bolt into the back of his head in that spore sack, and that kills him. He is saved by a guy that calls himself his godfather, because he's going to now tell him about life and how to survive in this new environment. Anyway, it's just non-stop action from beginning to end. It's really, I enjoyed it. I had a thoroughly good time reading this, but it's not a nice place. It's a horrible place to live, where you're always got to be on guard, because there might be something right close that's going to eat you. I gave it a 10, highly recommended. Limited use of hard profanity, a C. I gave it an M for some undescribed sexual encounters. They're not with him. It's in the stable places where they have a house of prostitution that you get to know some of the girls. There's nothing flagrant about it, but it is there in the story. It is violent, bloody, shockingly well-described mayhem.
Sounds like it.
It is. And I rated it for teens.
Okay.
I enjoyed it.
So fun, non-stop action.
Non-stop action.
But extremely bloody.
Yeah, every time you think he's finally got things straightened out and he's on a course that will take him somewhere, something else happens.
So is there any hope that he gets to a stable life, or this is just him until he
No, there is hope.
dies?
There's ways for a person to get really strong and get hive gifts that will make them strong enough to be able to stand up to most of the monsters.
So is it lit RPG-ish as well, where they're gaining strength?
No, not really.
All right, well, 6 books.
Some of them are really good. I think you'll enjoy reading some of these books.
Lots of different mix, it sounds like. Some apocalypse-ish, some fantasy, some sci-fi, so lit RPG.
It's all there. It's all there, and gamut from read to your kids to stay completely away.
All right. Hopefully you'll find something that you are interested in.
Good reading.